Hello everybody and welcome to this Train Sim World 4 news-ish video. I've already discussed the Bernina line. Obviously we knew what we were getting a while back, but obviously we've had a lot more information since the last video, the last dedicated video I made on this, and I wanted to make a new updated version on my new thoughts because they've changed somewhat based on the information that we've learned, and I'll go through all of that in this video. So the new route, because previously I suspected it would go from St. Moritz, which is way in the top here, the end of the Bernina line, to Tirano, which is down here in Italy, at the bottom of the Bernina line. Turns out they're only doing Ospizio Bernina to Tirano, which is sort of roughly the bottom half by straight line distance, but probably the bottom 2/3 by actual track distance. So that includes 12 stations and about 40 kilometers of track, but it's only roughly 20 odd kilometers, I think, by memory, of straight line distance. Like you can see, and I'll talk more about this later, but you can see there's a whole bunch of switchbacks here, there's a spiral down here, there's all of this. And, you know, it's not a direct line, obviously, because it's on a mountain on the side of an Alp. Fully electrified at 1 kilovolt DC overhead, 1000 volts, which is different to the rest of the RHB, so they have to use special trains. Or not special, but you'll see. The maximum speed on the section from Ospizio to Tirano is 60 kilometers per hour. North of Ospizio to St. Moritz, it's 65, but big deal. From my experience on the Train Sim Classic version, all hour and a half of my experience, the 60 kilometer an hour zone is only about a few hundred meters long, and it's surrounded by 40 on either side. So most of the time you'll be running at 30 or 40 kilometers per hour. It's of course meter gauge, as is the rest of the s-bahn. Is that correct pronunciation? Rheitische Rhaetian Railway. Rhaetian Railway? Rhaetian Railway? Who knows? Yeah, but as with the rest of the RHB network, it's meter gauge, and it is one of the steepest adhesion railways in the world. Certainly one of the steepest in Europe, and the steepest on the RHB network at 7%, which is sort of pushing 1 in 15 if you speak in ratio terms, which, you know, considering most mainline grades of sort of 1 in 40 are considered very steep, you can appreciate how steep this route is. Alright, the rolling stock included so far we know is the ABE 8-12 Allegra. I've made a typo there, it's meant to be capital B, but you know, big deal. That code, I've actually looked up these codes. The A and the B mean first and second class. The E means electric. The 8-12 means that 8 of the 12 total axles are powered. They were built in between 2009 and 2011, so they're quite recent. These Allegras are 3-car EMUs. They've got dual voltage capabilities for both the 11 kilovolts used elsewhere on the RHB, including the Arosa line, and 1 kilovolt for the Bernina line. When they're on the DC mode, they can run with either or both pantographs up, because they'll be drawing a lot more current because it's lower voltage, if you know Ohm's law and that. Well, not really Ohm's law, it's just power. When they're on AC mode, they only use one pantograph. They've got maximum speed of 100 kilometers an hour, but obviously you won't be doing that on the line if you're following the rules, of course. And they put out a power output on DC mode of 2,400 kilowatts and AC mode 2,600 kilowatts, which is, you know, over 3,000 horsepower on both accounts, which for a 3-car EMU is enormous power. And they have to be powerful to climb up the hills, really. So it's hardly a surprise. They can run in the Arosa line, as I mentioned earlier. It's unclear whether they will be integrated into a new timetable. We'll wait and see. And as we can see in the bottom screenshot, they can be coupled to the trailer coaches from the Arosa line. not really super common, these coaches. There are newer coaches that are used more often, and those newer coaches do have cab car variants that look almost identical to the cab ends of the Allegra multiple unit, but they're unpowered coaches. And it would have been nice to see them as well, but alas, we are not. So yeah, that's the rolling stock. The timetable is roughly 1 train per hour per direction all day, and it's about 1 hour from Tirano to Ospezio. There's some slight variation depending on the service pattern. Some trains don't stop at the request stations, some do. So that's a little bit of variation there, not much though. There are additional Bernina Express trains that obviously we don't have the Bernina Express coaching stock, which does come in the TS Classic version by default, but we're clearly not getting here. And there are freight trains, but it's unclear whether we'll get the freight wagons as well, unless I missed something in the roadmap, which is entirely possible. Now, from here, it looks like there's at least one collectible, and that is the route map in the background. So this is a square in Tirano. You can just see the station over there. So it looks like this whole square will be able to walk around. And maybe the pizza box is another collectible, who knows. Some quirks of the line. These are interesting things that either Rivet have added or that I think are interesting about the physical infrastructure. So first is the Cadera switchbacks. You can see that in the top right image. They're, basically just hairpins, but for trains, and they are pretty spectacular, actually. Obviously add a fair bit of route mileage and would take quite a while to get down, but pretty cool overall. There's also the Bruzio Spiral, which we have a screenshot of, and I put the track map in the top left. That's also very cool to get a screenshot of in Train Sim Classic, and no doubt that'll be quite nice to drive in the snow in Train Sim World 4 if this route is well made. It's the highest adhesion railway in Europe at well over 2,200 metres. It does have some street running sections in Tirano. I linked a cab video, but you can just search for Bernina line cab video. Some of them have well over 10 million views, so they're certainly popular. They should show up, and you can see the street running sections there. And Rivet have announced that they are going to have fully automated and functional announcements, which seems like a bit of a gimmick that would take time away from other more crucial things, like extending the route to St. Moritz, but who knows? Anyway, speaking of that, we'll come on to my thoughts. So, I strongly believe this should have included, at the very least, Bernina Express stock. I believe they will include that at some point in the future, but as a gameplay pack instead of some kind of free add-on, because Rivet seem to really love gameplay packs. West Cornwall Local Steam, Arosa Aggregates, the DRS and 1 liveries for Edinburgh to Glasgow, all of that stuff. They're super, and I guess by extension, the Isle of Wight 2022. They like their gameplay packs, in inverted commas, and I have no doubt that will become one of them in the future. The scenery looks good, the LiDAR looks good, you can see in the screenshot in the bottom there. Looks nice, looks much better than the Eros line. The trees, on the other hand, in the distance, same problem as the other routes. Their shadows aren't loading properly, and they look hideous. But to be fair, that's not a limitation of Rivet, as the Erosa line was. That's a limitation of the game engine that Dovetail have so poorly optimized. That really doesn't work for the thing they're using it for. The train, the ABE 812, looks quite nice. You can see from there in the top right. It looks good. Obviously, we don't know how it sounds, we don't know what the physics are. That's generally Rivet's weak point. They can model trains well, but they can't make them sound or feel accurate, generally speaking. Class 150 had bad sounds, Isle of Wight had bad sounds, 204 had bad sounds, the Flirt had bad sounds, Edinburgh to Glasgow had particularly bad sounds, the Erosa line had bad sounds, and most of them had scuffed physics as well, especially the Erosa line. So hopefully we'll get something better on the quality department in that regard, but no promises, of course, knowing Rivet's track record. And finally, it should go to St. Moritz. I mean, it's not a long route. Everyone's saying, oh, well, that'll be 2.5 hours. And it's like, yeah, okay, but it's 2.5 hours because it's running at 30 kilometers an hour. It's not a long route. It's just, like you can see here, it crosses back on itself so many times. That's why the route appears to be 60 kilometers long. It isn't. It's only really a straight line distance of 40. Like, there's 20 kilometers of turns and bends and shit on the route from St. Moritz to Tirano. So that 40 kilometers of scenery distance is entirely possible, and I suspect that it's been artificially deflated, say, because of some external pressure, like some dovetail target of getting it out before Christmas or something like that. I'm not sure, because this feels like a Christmas candidate, doesn't it? But I have put a picture or a screenshot here of Jasper, who is like community manager, I believe, at Rivet Games, who posted in the somewhat official forum thread for the Bernina line on the Dovetail Games forums, and there's some inkling that they'll expand the route. I mean, I'm not sure how much I hold hope for that. Certainly, they did expand the route for West Cornwall local, so maybe they'll expand the route. I'll just make clear as well, the current terminus, Ospizio, is, I believe, a request stop, so not all trains even stop there, which just doesn't make sense. Well, surely you'd at least push it a little bit further. If we come to the original track map, surely you push it a little bit further at least to, like, Mortarash or something, which I believe as well is a proper station. And there will be other stations between Ospizio and Mortarash, no doubt, that could potentially be other candidates. But at that point, just send it all the way into St. Moritz. Just do it. Just do it, right? It's not hard. Anyway, that is my current thinking of the Bernina line. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see before I form a really solid opinion, but the prospects have come down somewhat, as I was sort of expecting, knowing Rivet Games. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've found this useful. If you haven't, let me know. If you have, let me know. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.